Thank you. Great. Yeah, so like I said, you're welcome to the webinar. My name is Omobobolade Tunji. Some people call me Bobby, and I am the host of the Intentional Randomness podcast, just like I said. Today's webinar is going to be on budgeting because one of the things I talk about a lot on my podcast, if you've listened to my podcast, I've talked about the spreadsheet, I've talked about money, and one of the things that you need to do to be able to get your finances on a good track is budgeting. So therefore, we're having this course today. And I know for a lot of people, it's very abstract or sometimes it's just a lot of work. And so we're starting with the basics today. But just before we dive right into the webinar, I would just like to do some housekeeping. Please mute your mics, and you can share your video. You can start a video if you want, but only if you want. Like I said, we're recording. So if you want your face out there, that would be great. If you don't, that's also fine. If you have any questions along the line as we continue, I would love you to put them in the chat and we would answer them at the end of the webinar. But if it's really urgent and you don't want to forget, you can just raise your hand and maybe I could ask, allow you, like you could just type it and I could ask it immediately or answer it immediately in the during the webinar. But really, I would love to keep the questions to the end just so that we can get this going faster. I've asked where you are joining from, and I think some of you have answered that. I would love to also know what are your expectations for today? If you just one word in the chat, that would be really great. Something that you're expecting to take from here today. And at the end of the webinar, we'll see if we've managed to get you that. So please don't be shy in the chat option, in the chat box, send your expectations. I would really like to see them and even share with the others on the group. So please put that in the chat right there. I want to know where you're joining from. I know we have Jumoke from London. Where are the other people joining from? I would love to know how far our reach is, the Intentional Randomness podcast, and even how you got to know about this webinar. I would really love that. I would really love that. Great. Please don't stop. Keep putting it. And you can share the link for this webinar with anybody, even right now. Right now, even those that have not registered, you can send them the link and they will be able to join us. So if you know someone who is struggling with their money or they never really get their their accounts or their books together, send them this and do them a favor. We have someone joining from Stockholm, Jakobsberg. You're welcome. There's someone who hopes to learn how to plan ahead with their finances. That's really great. That's what this is about. So let's do this. Let's do this. So send the link to other people so that they can join in. It would be really great to have them here. Great. So like you can see, like I said earlier, basics of budgeting. We're going to the basics. What is budgeting? Why do you need to do it? And all of that kind of stuff. Today's webinar, the purpose, why did I want to have a webinar? I think it's because I know that a lot of people find this as a hurdle. It's something big that they want to do better with their finances, but this is always like, oh, how do I start? And you spend money without planning for it. And that's why this is something that is on my heart to share with other people. I hope that at the end of this webinar, I would have helped you to get some tools to start with your budgeting journey, and also maybe some right principles to apply when budgeting. For myself, I think budgeting at the level that I do it today started maybe 3 years ago. Before that, I kind of like did my budgeting in my head. I knew what money was coming and what money was going to go out. But you know, there's a saying, numbers don't lie. Sometimes you need to really get down to the nitty gritties. You need to put it down on paper for you to really know, because numbers really don't lie. So yeah, I'm hoping that at the end of this webinar, I've passed down some tools that can help you start with your budgeting journey. Great. Let's get right to it. A budget. What's a budget? There's this saying by Dave Ramsey. Is well known for his money, his money wisdom, and he says a budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. How many of you have maybe at the end of the month you got your salary, and then a week later you're wondering what happened. I thought I had money. Or maybe you were expecting some allowance from work and you were really planning for this allowance, or you were expecting some money from your parents, a gift or something. You really planned, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and then at the end of maybe after a week you notice what has happened to my money. So budgeting is a way not to get to that place where you're wondering what happened to your money, but instead you tell your money where you want your money to go, right? So again, this is what we're going to learn about today. The agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit about personal financial planning, what that is, how to go about it, and maybe I'll talk a little bit about even making a financial plan for yourself yearly. And then we're going to talk about budgeting, and then I'm going to talk about what should be in your monthly budget, and then I'm going to show you life examples on a real spreadsheet how to go about budgeting. Yeah, so that's the plan for today. Yeah, personal financial planning. A couple of years ago, let's say, yeah, a couple of years ago, as a family and even as an individual, we started making plans on paper. So planning for our finances as a family with my husband, and in a way that led to also the journey of now planning the year financially, in the sense that you plan your finances like a company. Usually a company would have its projected plans, their profits, what they're spending money on for the year. Maybe they're paying new salaries, they're increasing salaries, they're buying new furniture for their offices. They put all of that in, and then they'll have a projected profit at the end of the year. And so then during the year, they'll be comparing how they're doing to this financial plan they made in the beginning of the year. The same thing you can do for yourself as an individual. You can have your financial plan for the year. Okay, I'm going to save, I don't know, $1,000 every month. At the end of 12 months, I would have $12,000. Of this $12,000, I'm going to be sending out, maybe there's a wedding, I don't know, maybe there is a big project you're planning on, there is your birthday party, whatever it is. And then you have a plan for what you want to see in your account at the end of the year. This is something you can do for your finances as a person as well. But I'm not going to go too much into that. But I'm going to say that budgeting helps you to be able to come on this journey of personal financial planning. There are things to consider and to have in mind when you want to do your personal financial planning. And the first thing is your inflow. I would explain these terms very soon. You have your outflow, and you have a target, a balance, something you want to do. Maybe you want to save up for college, or you want to have, I don't know, $100,000 in your account at the end of the year. This is your financial target. It's very important to have a target. Budgeting without a target, or planning without a target is not so fun. How do you know when you've gotten to where you're going? How do you know that your plans have worked if you don't have a target? So you should have a target. And then one very important thing is you always have to plan for contingencies. There are times when things don't go as you plan, life happens. And so you need to have some plans for this. Yeah. So I said I would explain more later. Inflow. What is your inflow? Your inflow is everything that comes into your account, everything, your income, gifts, allowances, bonuses from work, even your tax returns. I know in Sweden, for example, somewhere in the middle of the month, you get a return on your, maybe you've paid too much taxes, the government returns it back to you, the amount you paid over. It's important for you to have this all accounted for in your inflow when you're doing this yearly financial planning. If that's something you want to do. Your outflow, you have to know what big things you have going on that year. It's your bills, your needs, your wants, that gifts that you give people. You know, your father is clocking 70 and you really want to buy him, I don't know, a Rolex watch or something. You need to know what your outflow is going to be like. You need to know these things. They must not be things that catch you unawares. Yeah, like I said, I have a target. How much do you want to have in your account at the end of the year? How much do you want to save? What is your target? All these things are important. Yeah, and plan for contingencies, unexpected emergencies. Your car breaks down, your fridge is not working. That happened to us recently. Something I don't know, water leak from our fridge, and then all of a sudden we had a water leakage. These are things that you don't want them to happen, but they happen. So the only way to plan for them is to plan for them even financially. Yeah. So anyways, budgeting is important for this because your monthly budget helps you to know where your money is going and where you want it to go. Let's start. There are a few things that are important to know when it comes to budgeting. There is no financial planning without a good budget. If you don't have a good budget, your financial plans will go out of the window before they even start. You need a good budget. Again, another thing, many people think, oh, me, I don't have enough money, I can't budget. It's people that have money that can budget. Or, oh, I can't reach my financial goal because I don't have money or I don't make enough. It's not how much you earn, but how much you save or invest that will determine your wealth profile, where you want to go. And I'm going to show an example of that later on as we continue. Another thing is a lot of people tend to underestimate their expenses. So you find that, oh, that regular lunch coffee is not added into their expenses. That I don't know what it could be. That random desire to order takeout or ordering Thai or ordering pizza, they don't remember to put it in their expenses. But all these things matter, and you need to take note of them, because if you miss them out, the expenses that you don't account for, they tend to become a huge drain on your income. So you need to account for all your expenses. Yeah, it's very, very important. Yeah, so now we're going into your monthly budget. Sorry, what should be in your monthly budget? Your monthly budget should include your bills, your money that you spend on your upkeep, that's your food, whatever else. You want to go for a spa, you want to, these things that you need to keep the body and mind going, they should be in your monthly budget. Your savings, definitely. I would even say your savings first. You should know how much you have. You have the liberty to save. You should know how much you can save. You have to have your giving. Some people like to give to charity, some people give to their church, some people give to their family, their friends. All these things have to be accounted for. If you know your best friend is having a birthday this month, you should have budgeted for it, how much you can spare. Not like you wake up in the morning, oh, I didn't order a gift, and then you go to the shop and spend over what you planned for. This thing should be there. And of course, miscellaneous, you have to plan for the unplanned, the emergencies. That's why you have the miscellaneous in your budget every month. There are rules, there are frameworks for budgeting that have been there for a long time. One of it is this 50-30-20 rule. And that basically is saying of your income, 50% should go on needs. These are things you need. These are, things that you cannot negotiate. These are your bills coming in. You have to pay them. You have to do them. I don't know. It's your housing. It's probably your transport because you need to get out of your house. These are your needs. So 50% of the money you're making, oh no, not more than 50% of the money you're making is a better way to say should go on things that you need. 30% on your wants. Oh, I want to go out on a date with my friend. I need to do my nails. I would like a new TV. I would like a new dress. These are your wants. These are things that if push comes to shove, you can do without. You don't need them. They are wants. And this is something that's very important with budgeting. You have to be able to separate your needs from your wants. Sometimes this is where the problem is. Some of us think that our wants are needs, but they're not. Wants are things that you can do without. Your needs are things that you cannot do without. And then the general rule is that normally you should be able to save 20% of your savings. This is a rule out there. Not everybody can do this, but I would say for me, as a person, I've noticed that if 20% is a lot for you, you should at the minimum be able to save 10% of your income. You shouldn't spend all the money you make every month. I don't care how much you make. You should save at least 10%. That would be my own suggestion. But if you can hit this 50-30 rule, you'll be on a good road to your financial freedom, because financial freedom starts with savings. Without savings, there is nothing. You must have a seed that you can sow into investments. Yes, there's another budgeting rule that people use and that can be used, which is very good, is called zero-based budgeting. Is where you allocate your funds, every single one of them, every penny, every krona, every kobo, everything is accounted for, every cent. So you don't have money that you don't know what happened to it. And there are apps that can help you do this. These are two ideas, and you can use this in your budgeting. But the most important thing is knowing how about budgeting is not just allocating, oh, I'm going to do A, B, C, D, but really using your money the way that it would bring you the financial freedom that you want, telling your money where you want it to go. That is what budgeting is really about. I talked about the other time, I mentioned that it's not how much you earn, but how much you invest or save that determines your wealth profile. And what do I mean by that? Okay, so here I have my two friends. I have Joe on one hand, I have Jolina. So Joe earns $10,000 or 10,000 pounds, 10,000 crowns every month. Jolina, on the other hand, earns 20,000. Both of them spend 5,000. No, both of them have bills and expenses. Joe spends 5,000 on his bills. Jolina spends 15,000 on her bills. At the end of the month, they both have the same disposable income, 5,000, 5,000. But Joe saves 3,000, while Jolina saves 2,000. At the end of 12 months, Joe, who started off with just 10,000 in his account every month, has 36,000 in savings. Jolina, who started with way more than Jolina, even twice as much as Joe, Jolina has 24,000 at the end of the year in her account. You see, it's not really who makes more that determines who is doing well. It's how much they're able to put aside. So this is just an example to show that. And if Jolina is wise and she has a budget, she probably will start looking, why am I spending 15,000 on my bills? What's taking my money? And maybe ask herself, why am I not able to save more than 2,000? And then that would help her. So your budget is a way for you to see what you're spending money on, and also to be able to adjust that to what you need to do to get to your target goal that we set in the beginning. So as we are maybe entering into this new year, you want to budget, you have a goal. I want to buy a house. I need to have my deposit. I want to save my own share, 5%, 10%, 15%, whatever it is in your part of the country, you want to save that up. You need to start from your goal and then reverse back. What do I need to do to get my goal? If Jolina had set for herself that she needs to have 48,000 in her account at the end of the year because she wants to buy a new car or she wants to do something, she would know that she needs to save more than 2,000. And so this is what budgeting is all about, knowing what you're spending your money on and then being able to direct your money to where you want it to go. Now I'm going to, like I said, I promised that I'm going to show very practical example of how a budget can look like. And today I'm using just a regular, simple Excel sheet, a spreadsheet. And I'm going to show you an example of how you can do your monthly budget so that it looks good. Just a minute, I'm gonna share that in a bit with you. Oh, sorry, have I been talking without my video the whole time? I didn't know that, sorry. But anyways, now you see me. Like I said, I want to share with you an example of a real budget so that you can see it. And that is coming right up. It is coming right up. Coming right up. In the meantime, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask them. I'm listening, I'm paying attention, and I want to know your questions. I would love to share my screen with you now. Great. Here we go. There you go. You can see my screen, I believe. Yes, so like I said, this is a live example of a budget. And what do we have here? This is let's say a budget for December 2021. Here we have, I'm just gonna make sure that we're still recording. Great. And you see me, I need your responses in the chat. If you can see me, that'll be good. And if you can see my screen, Great. Yeah, so this is, let's say, a monthly budget for December. A practical one is that this budget has your salary, what is coming in. And like I said, you have to know all your inflows. So if you're a family, you have salary one, you have salary two, or you have a side business, something you do on the side that brings in money, you have that. Maybe it's December, your office shares bonuses, or they give you some kind of Christmas allowance, you know that is coming in, you put that in into your budget. So this is an example of a real life budget. Here we have it. And then this is, you've gotten your salary at the end of December, you know, you're paying your rent or you're paying your mortgage if you own your own house or you own your own apartment. You're gonna fix your car, you need to maintain your car, you put that in. You have insurance that you're doing, your house insurance, your car insurance, all these insurances, you put them in. Your bills, your telephone bills, your internet bills, I don't know what they could be. It can be different for different people. You have a dog that eats a special kind of food, you need to buy that. All of this have to be here. You've taken a loan, you're paying back. Your loan repayment should be there because these are things that they send you invoices. If you live in Sweden, for example, you get sent a factura, you have to pay. If you don't pay, they're gonna send another factura with a new, with maybe an extra fine for not paying on time. So these are things that you need to pay so that you don't incur more debt, or you just have to do them. They're important. Your bills, fixed expenses, you know them every month. And then you come to what we call maybe flexible expenses. I like to put food here because food, you know, you can always gauge how much you spend on food. If you eat out a lot, your food expense will be a lot. If you eat out less, maybe you just keep to what you buy at the end of the month or at the end of the week when you go to the grocery store. You know how much you're spending, or you know how much you should spend. This is what it is, how much you should spend. So you put it in. Oh, you know, it's December, you're gonna have Christmas dinner. You need to plan for that. It's different from your normal food for the month. You're going to buy Christmas clothes. You want to do your nails. You want to do something different. You put that up here, part of your upkeep. And I like to put totals for each of these posts because I want to know what my money is going on and maybe compare it to this 50, 30, 20 rule that we talked about earlier. Or even if you've heard one of my podcast episodes, I was talking about I was breaking it down on how much you should spend on house rent of your income, what percentage of your income should be going to food, should be going to your savings and things like that. So here you have it. You have your upkeep, and then you have the giving. You know, you give maybe to charity, you know, your sister or your brother likes to call you up and ask for, I want to go watch a movie. My big sister send me some money. All of these things, you should plan for them. And when I say plan, I don't mean you should just, okay, my brother is going to come in for 1,000 crowns, so I'm going to send 1,000. I'm going to plan to send 1,000 crowns. It's more, what can I afford to give considering my financial goal, considering my financial plan? So your budget is helping you to reach your financial goal. It is not just a list of your expenses. It's a list of how you are meant to spend money to achieve your goal. So again, you plan for that. And then your savings. Now, don't be fooled. In this Excel, the savings is coming last, but it didn't last by any means. You should, in fact, I would recommend that you auto send your savings to a savings account before you even start spending money. Let that be a standing order, a debit order on your account for your savings. That's the only way you're going to get it done. Since I started practicing that, it's been different because once that money is out of my account, it's not up for spending. If you meet me on the 22nd of a month and I tell you I don't have money, I don't have money flowing around that is just lying fallow. The money has been allocated, it's gone to what it's supposed to go to. So your savings should definitely be something that you plan for here. As you can see, 2,000, that's 10% of this person's or of Joe and Jolina's monthly budget, we can call it, for December. So you have your savings going, maybe you have your investments that you have every month. You invest, you send it to some kind of, you buy shares or you have a mutual fund or something, you go in, investment one, investment two, whatever it is, and then you can see how much you save every month. And for me, I like to look at these totals because when I have a new goal to achieve or something I want to save up for, I'm wondering, what can I reduce? Maybe my Christmas dinner shouldn't be 1,000. It should be 500 or 800. I'm moving money around on this spreadsheet. Now, I forgot to mention this. This that I'm doing on this Excel sheet or this spreadsheet should be done before your salary comes in every month. You should do it a week before, 5 days before, 1 day before, but make sure you do it before your salary enters your account, because it helps you to know, okay, this is what I'm expecting. This is what I'm budgeting for. Now, as you can see on this budget, I have the budget. That's what I have planned to do. This is what Joe and Jolina have planned to do. And then you have the outcome here. This is something that you can take your budgeting to the next level. So you leave just the stage where you're budgeting. You come into a place where you are actually looking, okay, I was expecting 10,000 as my salary, but this month I didn't go to work for 2 days. And so my salary is not 10,000, it is 8,000 crowns, for example. You put that into that. Oh, my second salary that I'm expecting, maybe it's from your husband, your spouse, your partner, or whoever that is, or another salary from another job. It wasn't 10,000. All of a sudden, my boss got happy, or I got a promotion, I got 15,000. It's different from what you planned. Business didn't do very well. I was expecting 5,000, it didn't come, it's 2,000. My bonus, 2,000, yes, that came. It was exactly what they said. It was that. Again, you can figure out what the total of that is. It's very important that you do this at the end of the month when you've spent the money. It's very important that you do that. I'm showing you practical example because I know this is where a lot of people struggle knowing what to put in. Funny enough, we landed on the same amount of money. That's very interesting. I wanted it to be different. So maybe I should put here that I got 9,000 instead of 10,000. There you go. Again, your bills. So you know, your house rent is probably not going to change. Your car maintenance, instead of 1,000. Can we have that person mute, please, if that's possible? If you can just mute your mic. I don't know who it is that the mic is. Yeah, great. So you can track your outcome right here. You can track your outcome. So your car maintenance, you budgeted 1,000, that's your regular maintenance, but all of a sudden your tires were flat, you had to buy a new tire. Instead of spending 1,000, you spent 1,500. Your house rent didn't change, probably, it remained the same. All of these things, you can enter it in. I'm not going to go into too much details. You can enter it in. You can see how much your bills came up to at the end of the month. Your savings, the only thing I'm hoping will happen to your savings is that at the end of the month, when you checked your balance, you had not zero, but more than the balance, more than zero. And so you send it back to your savings account. That's what I'm hoping happens. And this way you can track. You can try this 2020 that we're going into, do this for January, February, March, and then you can go back and track. Is my budget working? Am I spending? Am I keeping to my budget? Is my outcome very similar to my budget? You can track the difference. If it's not working, you need to go back and check why it's not working. Maybe you're not planning enough for contingencies. Maybe your miscellaneous post is too small. Maybe you need to increase that. Maybe you are spending too much on food, or your phone bills are too much. You need to reduce this. And this is very, very, very important. I do this a lot. I like playing around with the budget, especially those months where things have happened and I know that whatever I'm expecting is going to be less than my usual. I'm playing around with money. What can I remove? What can I add? Like I said, budgeting is a bedrock to financial freedom. When you do this consistently, you begin to, one, you save regularly. Two, you don't overspend, and you don't live beyond your means. A lot of people live beyond their means because they don't do the math. Numbers don't lie. They think they can afford more than they can actually afford. In fact, I recently listened to a YouTube video and the person was saying, if you cannot afford something twice, if you cannot pay for something twice, you cannot afford it. Meaning just being able to pay for something once is not enough. If you cannot pay for it twice, you actually cannot afford it, because if you buy, let's say you buy a Gucci bag and you were able to pay for it that first time, and then something happens to it and you can't replace it, it means that in the first place, you shouldn't have had a Gucci bag. You shouldn't even have it. So that's something to keep in mind. If you cannot pay for something twice, you actually cannot afford it. How many of us would really realize how much we can afford or things that we cannot afford if we live by this principle? That's something to keep in mind for your budget. I wanted to also share, apart from the example that I'm showing you, I wanted to share some budgeting apps. I think you can even Google them in case you probably don't want to use Excel, but I think you can easily use your Excel, or you can use Google Sheets. So Google Sheets, it's free of charge for anybody that has a Google Gmail. You can do this in your Google Sheets. You don't need to pay for it. It's very simple. There are fancy budgeting apps. I don't use apps because I find this very, very simple, and I enjoyed keeping my things less complicated. So if your budgeting journey is starting now, I would recommend that you start with your Google Sheets and just have like your income, your expenses, the usuals, and then where you want your money to go in terms of savings and investment. That would be what I would recommend. But if you want to use an app, go ahead and just Google some budgeting apps and you have them. You have Money Manager, there is Mint, there is You Need a Budget. It's an app. You Need a Budget, YNAB it's called. And as if you're a family person, you could use an app called Honeydew. So HONEYDUE. These are budgeting apps, and some of them are actually designed. They are designed to help you invest as well. Some of them are they have some kind of like goal. So if you are investing, there are apps that are good for you. If you just want to do this zero-based budget, you want to allocate your funds and your money, you can do that. So yeah, basically that's it. I don't know. I like I said, if you have any questions, I would like to answer them right away. This was an example of a budget, and I mean, this is a monthly budget. You can do a budget for anything. You can save up, let's say, for I don't know, for buying a new car, and you have a budget for, okay, I want to save 2,000 crowns, or you have a plan, so to say. You can also budget for, okay, I have 10,000 crowns to spend for Christmas. How do I want to spend it? I'm going to spend 1,000 on my mom, 2,000 on my sister, 5,000 on my husband, my children. You know, the budgeting is something you can do for almost all the kind of inflows that you have. You can allocate your funds. The most important thing is that you are planning, and planning is very important on the way to financial freedom. Yeah. With that, I would like to say thank you for joining the webinar. If you have any questions on the spreadsheets, I can answer them. If you have any questions generally about budgeting, I would love to answer them. This was meant to be short, so I think we've kept to time. So if you're right there and you just have some questions, or you have you want to share something with us right here, I'm asking you, this is now the time to do that. You can send your questions in on the chat and I will see it right away. If this has been helpful in any way. I need some response. It's quite quiet in here. Okay, somebody is asking, what happens to someone with irregular income? That's very good. I think it's very important. If you have irregular income, the best way is to still somehow have a time frame that you do your budget around. So if your money comes in every 2 weeks or anytime, you should still probably pick every 2 weeks to do your budget, or every month to choose your budget. And like I said, a budget can be this is what you're budgeting. The outcome can be different. So let's say you know how much that comes in irregularly. You kind of know where they usually land. You should have a budget. If your outcome is different from your budget, that's fine. If it's lesser or lower, you can begin to play around with your spreadsheet. You can play around with it. Okay, like I said, here you have like business inflow. It changes all the time, or it's not the same thing. That's okay. But I think it's good. A budget has to have a time frame. You should still pick maybe every 2 weeks or every week to do a budget. It doesn't have to be a monthly budget. It could be a weekly budget for that matter. The most important thing is to do your budget before the money comes in, to plan for the money before it comes in. And that's the important part of it. Somebody's asking if the video will be available after this. Yes, it will be available. We will put it on our YouTube page, on Intentional Randomness YouTube link. It will be available. Yeah, I see someone's absolutely saying to plan for the money before it comes in. Yes, that's the whole point of budgeting. You have to plan, because if you don't plan for the money, what I notice is that the money comes in, and before I've decided what I want to use it for, it can start going anyhow. But then if you have irregular income and you don't know what money is coming in, you can at least do the budget or planning for your money the moment you get it, before you start spending it. I think for someone with an irregular income who doesn't know what's coming in or what's going out, or no, you don't know what's coming in, it's important to budget the money before you spend it. Start plan for what you want to do with the money before you start spending it. So don't spend until you've planned. That's another thing you can take home today. Don't spend until you have planned. I don't know if there is any other question coming in. I'm seeing here, I'm waiting if there's any other question. If there is no other question, I want to say that I would send out, I'll be sending out a link for a survey that I would really appreciate if you can fill. And it's just for me to get your feedback on this session. So please watch out for it. It will come to you immediately after this session is over. And I would really love if you can fill and answer the survey. That would really be helpful. But I think with that, we've come to the end of today's webinar. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And please, if you're not yet following Intentional Randomness, you need to do that. It's a podcast. You can find us on any of your podcast apps. And if you are a lady and you haven't joined us on Clubhouse, you need to do that. It's called the Girls Chat Club. Join right in. If you've loved this session and you would want us to have other webinars on other topics, let me know. Send an email to intentionalrandomnessfeedback@gmail.com. Yes, but otherwise, I would love to say thank you very much for attending, and see you next time. Thank you so much. Just gonna wait for. Oh, sorry, somebody said there's a question I didn't answer. Who did I not answer? Oh, sorry, just before we end, can I succeed getting a heavy buffer by following this budgeting? I'm not sure I get a question, but if you're saying, can you succeed in getting, like, saving up a buffer by following this budgeting? Yes, you just need to decide how much you want to save. You need to have a target for this, your heavy buffer. So let's say, this is a financial goal that we have had as a family, me and my husband. At some point, we wanted at the end of the year to have 50,000 crowns in our account at the end of the year. Where do you start? You start early, 12 months in a year, 50,000 crowns. How do we start saving? It means you have to save at least 4,200 or so crowns every month. If I'm doing my math, it's a little bit off, but somewhere around there, because 4,000 will give you 48,000. And so if I can save around that 4,200, somewhere there, I would hit my 50,000 crowns at the end of the month. And so you start by that. You put your savings and then you spend the rest. Like I said, the savings, you should keep it. It should be fixed. You should know your plan, and you should go for it. Yes, so definitely you can succeed in getting a buffer by following budgeting. You need it. You can't do it otherwise. You shouldn't save randomly. You should have a target and you should do it regularly. Definitely. I don't know if I answered that question or if there's any other question coming in. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad I was able to answer that. Yes, that's what I meant. Great. That's what I got as a feedback from that person. Thank you so much for joining. And I hope this session has been useful for you. And until next time, when we have another webinar, thank you for joining. Bye-bye. With that, we've come to the end. Bye.